Warpugs, I cannot tell you the amount of times, I cannot honestly tell you the amount of times I have opened up this SCP and I have backed out because of time constraints. I cannot tell you how many times that's happened with me, okay? I really just can't. It is a thing. I just cannot explain it. It is... Every single time I've opened this up, I have wound up closing. I probably opened it up 30 to 40 times and decided that I didn't have enough time to actually complete it. But here we are. This is the Volgun. This is SCP-3675, the Void Cult Keter. Now, any time that I have stepped away from an SCP, it has been a good one, and I have regretted doing it. I did it to, I did it to the Murder Monster. I did it to SCP-999. I did it to the Plague Doctor. I did it to so many different SCPs where I would open it up, take a look, get ready to start going into it, and then I'd back out because I felt like I just did not have enough time. And now we're at the Void Cult Keter, and all I can think about is the amount of times I have opened this up, getting ready to go into it. Warpugs, the Volgun is, in my book, one of the best SCP creators on the entire platform. Go check him out. He deserves your subscription, if anything else. Check out his store. I will have his store in the links down below. Definitely go by there. I have some pictures of his that are hanging up around the office. They're not back here because I just simply don't have any space, but I'm planning on getting a couple of cabinets, so you'll be seeing some more stuff back here. The table back there, the shelf is just crammed full of everything right now. So I'm hoping to be getting some shelves soon, sooner or later, and then I'll be putting some stuff on there. But I got some very particular ones that I want, and I gotta wait for them. Enough of me ranting. Guys, check out the Volgun. Check out my shop in the links down below. Slappergrot, everything like that. It's about time I got to this one. Let's go. It's about time. It's just about time.
Warning. This is an automated notice sent by
I knew it.
Autonomic Analysis and Response System 821, AARS 821, and authorized by the Records and Information Security Administration. AARS 821 has determined that edits have been made to this file, resulting in the presence of active cognitohazards.
Okay.
If you do not have clearance to edit this file, close this page immediately. Otherwise, please scroll down and deny all proposed edits made to the file. Reading or editing infected portions may result in contamination. Minimize exposure to any data of this object's file. Afterwards, immediately report to the nearest help desk to log this incident.
Hooray.
Edited portions are marked in blue for ease of access in the text document and read by me for the audio portion of this document.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Dr. Miller, and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-3675. Containment class...
Field left blank. 3675 history. Original.
Containment class... Keter.
Okay.
Comments.
Why do we fear death? Death can be a storm, a hail of black rain, a flurry of pitch come to destroy your body and steal your soul. It is something to be endlessly staved off and battled until the bitter end. Or death can be a sunset, an inevitability. When you're close to the end, it's a peaceful nightfall that you accept with open, yet terrified arms. Like that sunset, death is a law of nature. Nothing more.
Okay.
Why do you fear death? It cannot be the fear of the unknown. That is something you can overcome easily. By all logic, by all reason, there is something you sense in death that we sense in nothing else. Something beyond your reasoning, inevitable and great. You see death as the ultimate fear, even though many fears are objectively much greater. But once I reached it, I understood. Listen closely for some time. I must show you something.
Okay.
Confirm or decline edits.
Decline.
Edits have been discarded.
Lovely.
Disruption class, Eki. And risk class, Danger. Special containment procedures. All research and information distributed about SCP-3675 or their properties must be localized to the designated site in which experiments are to take place. The existence of this file and associated data should not be published outside of this local network.
I have said it before. I will say it again. I said at the beginning of this, every time I put an SCP off, it turns out to be something like this. Something like this. You're not your standard stuff here. Let's go.
Except on a need-to-know basis by personnel of Level 4 clearance or higher. Due to the physical nature of SCP-3675, no actions or direct containment protocols are to be implemented at this time. To safeguard against possible cognitohazardous effects, staff performing regular research on SCP-3675 or who regularly have thoughts concerning SCP-3675 must undergo monthly psychological screenings.
Yay.
Members of the SCP-3675 project should not believe in an afterlife, possess any mental illnesses, or have been given Damarung clearance at any point in their employment with the Foundation. Personnel with a cognitive resistance value, CRV, of lower than 15 are prohibited from performing experiments or technical studies that involve detection, manipulation, or analysis of SCP-3675 entities.
Okay.
Autonomic Analysis and Response System 821, AARS 821, is responsible for analyzing all Foundation documentation for SCP-3675-1 infection vectors. If SCP-3675-1 infection is identified, the affected documents are to be removed from the rest of the Foundation database and manually cleansed of activation vectors. An automated notice is sent to the corresponding project head with appropriate containment instructions. Mobile Task Force Psi-10, Maslow's Motivators, is tasked with identifying the rate and extent of SCP-3675-1 infections or activations and reducing them across global communication networks.
Okay.
Protocol 540 Meridian must be carried out weekly to ensure that a 3675 Abgrund event does not take place. In the event that Protocol 540 Meridian fails or becomes ineffective, counter memes will be disseminated through information distribution networks and contingency Omicron eclipse enacted. See Document 540A, 05 clearance only.
Oh, man.
If more than 50% of the human population dies due to a 3675 Abgrund event and countermeasures cannot be developed,
We will all be together.
No.
Protocol 540 Meridian is detailed in Addendum 3675-1.
3675 History. Original.
And countermeasures cannot be developed, the Ganymede Protocol will be enacted, followed by distribution of a fungal kill agent in the atmosphere. SCP-2000 is to be activated with appropriate modifications. See Contingency Omicron Eclipse. Protocol 540 Meridian is detailed in Addendum 3675-1.
So this thing... So this thing infects and destroys, and it is so severe they're actually invoking SCP-2000. If you do not know, SCP-2000 is a site underneath Yellowstone, which when activated can rapidly clone the entire human population in the event that it gets wiped out.
Comments.
If I can describe death in a few words, I would say it's the absence of time. Yet I witnessed death with my very eyes, and when it came, I was thankful. Thankful beyond words.
No.
The terrors of life were finally coming to a close, and my fear was unfounded.
Doubt.
And so I plunged deep into the abyss of eternal sleep.
Doubt.
I cannot describe that state as darkness. It was a pure distilled acceptance. Above all, it was a state of being.
No.
Before I could even realize it, the dream was broken like a bullet impacting a film of glass, shattered so small that nothing could see it and nothing could put it back together again. My heart was ripped in two, and I suddenly felt myself among hundreds of billions, pinpricks of light in a blizzard. But that was only the beginning of eternity, and there were still many eternities more to come.
Okay.
Confirm or decline edits.
Decline, my guy.
Edits have been discarded.
Thank you.
Description: SCP-3675 is the designation given to a group of incorporeal, sapient entities currently attempting to induce an SK-class dominance shift. SCP-3675 instances interact and exist only on an intersecting or overlapping operational substrate separate from the physical world, similar to other documented cases of informational constructs. Entities are therefore unable to physically interact in any way with the material properties of any objects, organisms, or other substances present in reality. It has been determined that SCP-3675 entities possess the ability to interface with conscious thoughts and emotions in the brain, gaining a degree of control over them when certain triggers and conditions are met in the human brain.
Okay.
See SCP-3675-1 further below. While the natural state of SCP-3675 is incorporeal and functionally separate from reality, instances possess the ability to integrate themselves into a set of communicable and understandable ideas or information. When the affected information is read or comprehended by a human being, SCP-3675 instances can then move into the brain, exerting a wide variety of other effects, including inducing forgetfulness or confusion, auditory, visual, or tactile hallucinations, and extreme paranoia.
That's always great. That's always great. So basically, this makes the entire population have dementia for the most part. That's absolutely fantastic.
When SCP-3675 instances manifest themselves in information, the ideas and concepts expressed in the affected data undergo several subtle changes, while any statements of fact or opinions expressed remain functionally the same and are expressed in the same way. The subtext surrounding the focus of data is modified to include metaphysical elements such as religion, spirituality, and human nature.
Okay.
This modification usually causes a substantial shift in the affected information's tone. Instances of SCP-3675 have the ability to spread a mental contagion, designated SCP-3675-1. Humans can become infected by SCP-3675-1 through various mediums, including direct implantation by SCP-3675 instances, through a process of mental contact that is currently not understood, or through mimetic spread via affected information. SCP-3675-1 cannot be removed from a human brain once it has been infected, but its effects upon activation can be mitigated by the use of rehabilitation, amnestics, mental reconstruction, or
Allowing the transition to happen.
Bruh, really?
3675 history. Original.
mental reconstruction, or Protocol 540 Meriden.
Comments.
This cannot go on. These divisions must cease to exist, and it is either your phase or our phase that must go.
You go.
But those that are dead cannot further die, so that leaves a single course of action. You see, your destruction is infinitely preferable to our current state. The living and
no, bruh.
the dead, faced off against each other in terrible equilibrium. This must cease. Since the beginning, there is a feeling of bitter coldness, a freezing far too great to become numb to. But you get used to the fire after a while. The real torture is grim and existential, and it torments you further than any physical pain would have. And after a few thousand years, any hope of salvation or memory of life is shriveled to a cinder, lost underneath our interminable anguish. And we are a chorus of souls not singing, but screaming, and no noise comes out when we open our mouths to breathe.
Dude, there is a limit to how much BS I'm willing to put up with in the SCP. Kill this thing.
Confirm or decline
GOC,
edits.
Decline.
please tell me the GOC has something that they can use on this, because this might be another instance where I'm just looking at the SCP Foundation like, why are you still allowing this to be existing?
Edits have been discarded.
Thank you.
Once implanted in the brain, SCP-3675-1 can lie dormant for a theoretically indefinite time period.
Okay.
And during this time period, infected individuals display no anomalous effects.
Okay.
Currently, over 88% of the world population is infected with SCP-3675-1 in a dormant form. SCP-3675-1 becomes active when a specific set of conditions is met in a brain.
Okay.
These conditions include several psychological, informational, and emotional triggers that must all be present at once in order for the activation to take effect.
In other words, watching a Miley Cyrus video, because I get several psychological, informational, and emotional triggers at the same time, mostly rage.
Activation can also take place when a human has consumed information anomalously edited to include cognitohazards that induce the mental states mentioned above. Starting 20. These edits began to spontaneously occur in various files throughout the Foundation database.
Cool.
AARS 821 was instituted and approved for the purposes of containing these incidents. The secondary factor that induces infection is a specific idea or concept that, once thought of or comprehended, automatically becomes in itself a vector of SCP-3675-1 transmission. When both the key thought and other mental triggers are present in a human brain, the probability of infection becomes near certain.
Sweet.
In all cases, the activation concept has been recorded to be the following: I wonder what happens to me after I die. Those infected with SCP-3675-1 can display some or all of the following characteristics:
Joy.
increased proclivity to react on violent impulses,
Okay.
pronounced pessimism towards other humans and towards society in general, lack of self-control or self-preservation instincts, lack of empathy and increased sociopathic tendencies.
Understanding that existence is only a fleeting dream.
Well, Twitter.
3675 history. Original.
Quickness to anger and or violence, sudden swings from a calm state to an aggressive
Yeah.
one.
Twitter.
Comments.
When you read these words, do you hear a voice in your head? Listen to the voice of the words. While you hunted each other down, inflicted wounds and flattened cities,
I hear the words. It's telling me to buy Mountain Dew. What?
trying to destroy your own heaven,
Shit.
you never realized that it simply grew our numbers, and the new ones too, learned of their fate, their eternal torment. They joined us, and so we waited, and we waited, until we could understand you. With our newfound existence, we realized we could tune other minds to our wishes. We could softly touch and fold and manipulate the connections in your brains, whisper our commands into it, and then like a song stuck in your head, you would hum the tune imprinted within you. And when that melody grew stronger, we realized it could spread. With time, it could shape your experiences and sensations, and mold your psyche into permanence. How many decisions were a result of our idle experimentation? How much of your character is not your own? Ask yourself this, and you may begin to understand.
I don't wanna.
Have you ever walked into a room and forgot why you were there? Have you ever been carrying on a conversation and realized that the topic you were speaking of seconds ago has slipped your mind?
I don't wanna.
Thus we began to tune the strings of a beautiful orchestra of death. The performance is about to begin.
Look, I understand. Okay, fine. I understand it. I am a boomer. I forget stuff. Did y'all have to do this to inflict paranoia on me? I mean, did y'all really have to do this to me? Did y'all have to do this to me?
Confirm or decline edits.
Decline.
Decline.
Thank you.
Edits have been discarded.
In addition, SCP-3675-1 is self-propagating. Triggers to its activation have been shown to become more highly prevalent as the number of infected increases. Therefore, upon reaching a critical point, positive feedback causes symptoms to cascade, resulting in a theorized breakdown of human societal structure, culture, and order, and eventually extinction through violence and wars. At this point, the dominant life form on Earth will become SCP-3675. This SK-class occurrence is termed a 3675 Abgrund event.
Sweet.
It is currently estimated that 1% of the world population has an active form of SCP-3675-1.
Perfect. It's like an STD before your brain. I wondered why every time I went on Twitter I got a headache.
Level 3, 3675. Classified. Addendum 3675-1. Protocol 540 Meriden.
Okay.
The regular and frequent implementation of Protocol 540 Meriden is necessary in order to prevent an SCP-3675 Abgrund event. The SCP-3675 project head, currently Dr. Arban Malthus, is responsible for guaranteeing that standards are properly met during the performance of Protocol 540 Meriden.
Okay.
In the case that the number of days between two successive Protocol 540 Meriden implementations exceeds 10 days, emergency actions are to be taken and the surrounding 10-kilometer-squared area around site secured. See Document 540A for further instructions.
Dude!
Using techniques adopted from Project Rainbow Body, see Declassified Clearance 3 brief, a method for deployment of a counter-mimetic signal designed to cancel out the cognitive abilities of SCP-3675 instances has been developed.
Cool.
The signal, composed of a series of Class R extrasensory cognitohazards and anti-mimetic packets, is projected into the dimensional substrate inhabited by SCP-3675 entities using a D-Class personnel as the carrier.
What?
Over time, the counter-meme is dissipated outward, coming into contact with all instances of SCP-3675. Upon contact, the signal interferes with an entity's informational cohesion and base processes, greatly reducing its effectiveness in exerting its anomalous properties, as well as in spreading and implanting SCP-3675-1. The basic elements and procedure of Protocol 540 Meriden are summarized below for completeness.
Okay.
One D-Class subject infected with an active form of SCP-3675-1 is sedated and placed on a surgical table.
This is going to go well. I can already tell this is going to be absolutely swimming.
Surgeon creates an incision into the instance's skull.
Of course, as one does.
Specific layers of the cortex of the frontal lobe are excised according to the guidelines set in Document 540A.
As one does.
A Hegel localized meme distortion device is physically implanted into the brain. After the operation is complete, the incision is closed. The subject is subsequently awakened. Using remote dimensional transit anchors, the HLMD device and surrounding brain tissue is brought out of phase with the rest of surrounding reality. The subject is then shown a series of low-level visual and oral cognitohazards that cause minor neural damage and provoke a defense response from the brain.
I got a feeling this is what happens to me every Friday night when I do shenanigans.
Which manifests as Class R extrasensory cognitohazards and anti-mimetic packets. Upon the signals reaching the implanted HLMD device, the cognitohazards are projected into the phase of SCP-3675 habitation and amplified exponentially. This process continues for approximately 20 minutes, allowing for signals to propagate completely throughout the planet's atmosphere. In order to avoid mental aftereffects of prolonged exposure to harmful mimetic agents, Class D amnestics are administered to the subject after successful completion of Protocol 540 Meriden.
Dude, you removed his frontal lobe. I don't think that Class D amnestics are going to solve all the problems.
Accessing Thalmio-level material regarding Protocol 540 Meriden. Delete or destroy after reading as per HP 5810 regarding forbidden knowledge disposal.
Sweet!
SCP-3675-1 infection rates have been increasing greatly over the past decades. In addition, recorded SCP-3675-1 activations have become increasingly more common. While current infection and activated virus rates are currently at 88.9% and 1.6% respectively, the amount of infected will eventually reach 100% in approximately 12 years. As the number of infected grows, the amount of information and concepts acting as vectors for its activation metastasizes according to an exponential function rule. It has been determined that Protocol 540 Meriden is able to minimize the communicability of SCP-3675-1 while decreasing incursions of SCP-3675 instances into human brains. However, this procedure as a method of weakening entities through interference with network cohesion is fundamentally unstable, and recorded instances of SCP-3675 have been increasing.
Okay.
This has led the Overseer Council to project the complete adaptation of the entities to Protocol 540 Meriden, and therefore total containment failure in approximately 25 years. After containment of SCP-3675 fails, rates of activation will surge. All humans on Earth will have an activated form of SCP-3675-1, distributed through contaminated data, within 3 weeks of total containment failure. Thus, Protocol 540 Meriden is fulfilled only to delay a 3675 Abgrund event for as long as possible. It is projected that once all humans have an active form of SCP-3675-1, nations will quickly dissolve into anarchic violence, as all human capacity for control of impulsive thoughts is removed.
Great.
The 3675 Abgrund event will complete after a period of 8 years, at which point human life will no longer be sustainable. The O5 Council is currently reviewing plans to begin implementation of contingency Omicron eclipse.
Sweet.
Level 4.
So they can't control it. They're running out of options to contain it. It's all going downhill. It's over, Scoob.
3675. Classified. Addendum 3675-2. Selected interviews.
Interview 3675-01.
Okay.
Forward. For the purposes of this interrogation, a human infected with late-stage activated SCP-3675-1 infection was interviewed. The subject is Natalia Velikovna, a Russian lawyer. Ms. Velikovna possessed all symptoms of SCP-3675-1, including intense violent impulses and a lack of self-preservation instincts.
Well, she is a Russian lawyer.
However, these behaviors were sporadically interrupted by certain periods in which the subject was noticeably calmer, displaying a personality different from the original but also uncharacteristic of SCP-3675-1 infection. This personality manifests in a fugue-like state, which was active throughout the interview. This state has not been observed in any other infected subjects, and the reason for its manifestation is currently unknown. Playing log now.
For the past 2 months, you have been engaging in acts of indiscriminate violence. Could you please tell me why you chose to begin doing so?
In every science, in every religion, they always give doomsday a name. There are thousands of ways this earth could die, and each are called something different. Every apocalypse is an ending. But I see this one on the horizon. It is a beginning.
The beginning of what?
The passage, the crossing over. Faith, I saw it clearly. I can conjure up the flames of truth even now. I see my mother and my father, the dead, the generations coming before, all ending up into an infinity of voices that sing.
Could you elaborate further? What are the dead doing? What's singing?
And they sing hymns of destiny to me. Their chorus shows me that they are in great pain. Great and horrible pain.
This is like Chaos from 40K vibes at this point. I'm just saying.
How do you feel about that?
I see yours too. They are also singing to you, but it falls on deaf ears. I see your ancestors and your dead ones, and they want to tell you something, Doctor.
What are they telling me then?
You already have heard it many, many times. It comes in flashes and bolts of inspiration. You gaze out over the city skyline and they tell you, jump off to your death. You feel madness and they say, take action on your anger. A yearning for violence. A wish to follow your deepest thoughts. They are not yours. They are messages.
Okay.
The subject proceeds to grab hold of the sleeve of Dr. Malthus's shirt. Dr. Malthus brushes the hand off. All right. Moving on. Can you tell me what you know about how these messages spread? How did you learn about this apocalypse on the horizon?
They are hopeless in their states, and every day the pain gets worse and worse, weakening their power, destroying their fall. Do you know the feeling of drowning in a deep ocean and trying to swim ashore, but you are weighed down. They are weighed down by an anchor, and their soul is destroyed by the tuning fork ringing out of harbor.
Huh?
But instead of the tangible, they can weave the intangible. They want to show you the beauty of the next phase. They cannot kill you, deliver you, but once they touch your mind, you see things from their point of view.
At this point, the subject begins producing weak, strained laughter. The vocalizations are not anomalous, but continue for approximately
Yeah, have you ever heard the sounds of madness? It's great.
30 seconds. Please stop that. You haven't explained what SCP-3675 does.
Listen to the voice of the words. Be still and you can hear our screams. Go home tonight. Lock yourself in the pitch black room
How about not?
and make no noise and close your eyes. Then you shall hear the things I have seen myself. Your power is their weakness. Your weakness is their power. One day, a day upon the horizon, you shall realize that the whisper within is calling you out from them, your ancestors. There is no virus. There will be no virus when the Ascendance comes.
Huh?
Who are you? Is Natalia Velikovna speaking?
I have no more to say to you. The dead bring you that message so that you who master the world can prepare your civilization for the truth to come. I can speak no more.
Okay.
Afterward. The subject did not respond to any further questioning. Minutes after the interview completed, the subject suddenly lapsed out of its trance state and began screaming and struggling to break loose of the restraint.
It's great.
The subject was subsequently used in Protocol 540 Meriden, and Class D amnestics were then administered. Ms. Velikovna has not displayed any further symptoms of infection.
Yeah, removing the frontal lobe kind of does that.
Further material redacted.
Sweet.
Level 5, 3675. Classified. Addendum 3675.3. Commentary from Project Head.
Sometimes I've awoken from a cold dream, disturbed by a sort of emptiness in my spirit, a vast void I cannot control. In my memories I feel this horror, like that of a man who has realized the crushing epiphany that has drifted from him, lost in the ebb and flow of time. For weeks and months I pondered this. I tried to grasp at the faded fabric of this dream, but in these waking moments they still slithered away from me. One day I stirred from yet another one of these dreams by a strange feeling in my gut, as if my heart were cut out from my chest and set before me. In a panic I peered outside, and I saw a man in the street, standing like a predator at some invisible force, and brandishing a knife into the silent air. I saw him, perfectly still, lit only by the flickering orange light of the street lamp from above. Then I went downstairs and put on my shoes. I walked up to this man in the warm night and asked him, "Why are you standing here? Who are you looking at?"
Dude, you're going up to a hobo with a knife. You're about to get what everybody expects.
He said in a quiet voice that he didn't know. I prompted him further, asked him to describe what he felt, but he was silent for a long time. Then he told me, "You know, every night as I'm walking home, I come across this spot on the road." He gestured to the air in front of him, waving his hands as he talked. "Every time I pass by here, I feel this kind of chill in my veins. It seems to drive me away. Sometimes it's more than that. I see things that just aren't there, or I sense a presence that simply doesn't exist."
Dude, take a different road.
It's certainly paranoia. Human irrationality, of course. Normally I'd avoid this patch of darkness, move on, walk home. But today, while I passed by, something, some noise or movement, drove me into pure terror. I felt like I was going to die at any minute. And instead of running away, I felt compelled to kill whatever was out there.
Oh,
Like some nerve was touched or played that made me know nothing but anger and murder. He fingered the knife reluctantly, then slipped it back into his pocket. We humans, we're strange creatures in our life. There are these times when we overreact, pursuing a primal response to some random, meaningless thing. And afterwards we regret that part of us that rose to the surface. It's almost like we're being primed for something. That paranoia of absence makes us conscious of everything around us when nothing is there. And in moments, that fear becomes so intense that you want to strike out at something, kill something, do something that will justify your irrationality. I've never known why. I probably never will. And that's why I stand here. Because it's all I can do to find answers. And at once, I understood. Death is an undiscovered country. It will always remain that way, as an unknowable blank, and we will never have data on. We know not whether what lies afterwards is a glistening euphoria or ceaseless pain.
This is the activation.
Or both. But all along we've had these whispers of thought, these patterns of faint sentience reaching out across the void to speak to us. I understood that perhaps what lies after death is a separation from consciousness. The mind is released from the body. And now it wanders. They can't manipulate the world because all they are is just brain patterns. But they can connect that pattern with another mind, link something together, and that's SCP-3675-1. For whatever reason, the ghosts of this mortal coil ask us to die for them. They want us to destroy our living bodies for some ultimate goal that still lies beyond our human reach. Can't you see them?
No.
They're reaching out.
No.
Reaching and stretching themselves into our world in order for us to become them.
Negative.
That is the ascendance, then. To force our bodies against each other. Soak this earth in our own blood by our own terrible hands. But then I pondered this second state, this other side. There was a peculiar choice of phrasing used by that woman. Yet at first I dismissed it as madness. All the answers to my questions were there in that muted prophecy. Then I came to a second epiphany. One that let me link SCP-3675-1 into something that made infinitely more sense.
Okay.
And was yet infinitely more frightening to me. A single sentence that was the key to my realization. There is no virus. Infected information doesn't
I was wondering what that was about.
change who you are. It changes what you are. There is a set of circumstances, a group of mental states that, when combined, enable a dead soul to etch within your brain a fatal symbol. A black poison that spreads throughout your mind. It is subtle in the beginning, a low overtone that colors your perception of how you see the world,
Right.
making it darker and more meaningless. But slowly, the storm begins to take control of your subconscious, manipulating your conscious into acting with adrenaline-fueled emotional charge and eventually psychotic delirium.
Right.
And the fate of the human race shall be nothing but fury, as we plunge ourselves into a torment that we cannot comprehend.
Okay.
It has been observed that infection with SCP-3675-1 is a rather slow process. One with a dazzling degree of varying symptoms, but all with a single end game. We were wrong. We were terribly wrong. There is no virus. There is no mimetic contagion. Only a message ringing throughout history, telling us all to surrender. Letting these apparitions play with our minds and control us like marionettes. All we have to do is listen. And we cannot stop listening. Listening to the voices of the words. Do you know what I see at the end of this row? The entire human race, every single one, a once good soul driven into this madness, this new horrific identity, And once we've all left our bodies, they shall be satisfied knowing that we too shall burn. It's all selfish. It's all spite and anger. And the thing is, that's who we are. Deep inside. Hell itself hasn't made them any less flawed than we are. Don't you realize? We're looking at a reflection of ourselves. And the figure in the mirror is trying to pull us in. Dr. Araban Malthus.
That is good.
Okay, I think that about does it for today.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening, if indeed you still are, and you're all dismissed.
That was actually really, 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 really good. That was really, really good. So, the whole concept, what happens to us when we die, this SCP is based around, and it might not be every soul, it might not be every person that dies, it might not be all of them, but it is definitely a significant portion. And when these people die, I guess you could call it, their consciousness continues to drift. And they experience a lot of pain being separated from their body. And spitefully, they are trying to drag the rest of humanity down with them. Simply because if they have to go through this, everyone should. That is a hideous SCP. Because how do you even fight that? How do you even begin to fight that? Because you're fighting against someone who knows your own doubts and insecurities just as well as you do. This is the one thing that has always creeped me out about these types of SCPs, because this is like the bodies in the water from one particular standpoint. It doesn't tell you a lie, it twists the truth, and there is a difference in that. There is a difference in that. It doesn't make you believe, it lets you convince yourself. God, I love this stuff. It's been too long, man. It's been way too long. This SCP is ugly, and I can see why they would invoke SCP-2000. But even if they did reset humanity with SCP-2000, would it really have any kind of benefit, or would it just restart the cycle at an even more accelerated rate? Because if they can't get it under control with Meridian, then what can they really do? Can 2000 really save humanity at that point if everyone is pretty much losing it? Can 2000 actually do anything to help anything at this point? I don't think it can. I honestly do not think it can. I think everything is screwed. I think everyone is hosed. Warpugs, I knew the amount of times I skipped this one was going to be the one I liked. This is going to be one that I actually really, really enjoyed. And I was not wrong about it. We all have questions about what happened to us after we are done here. And the bad thing about it is, this is the actions of a group of entities who have found out what it's like to chew 5 gum, and they hate it. And because they hate it, and they hate it that much, they're willing to drag everyone else down with them. That is so nasty. Warpugs, the Volgun. Excellently voice acted again. Excellently done again. The whole 9 yards. I got exactly what I came here for. I knew this was going to be a hell of an SCP, and it did not disappoint. Guys, all the Volgun's links are going to be in the description down below. Go check him out. Check out his shop. Get yourself some artwork from him. Check out my shop as well. Get yourself a t-shirt. I'm going to head out from here. Join as a member of Patreon for early access, and I will catch you Warpugs next time. I knew it. It was going to be good.